Well, hello everybody. My name's Helen Cooper and I'm the founder of the Helen Cooper School of Luxury. And this is one of our interviews in my experience chats led by Shreya Agarwal, a really well-known journalist and beauty luxury brand specialist in this area. One of the big things that we really focus on at Helen Cooper School of Luxury is learning from experience. It's my experience that's created the foundation of the courses that are available, but also I think it's really, really important that we get the chance to share the experience of people who have been through the process of setting up and building their own brands, their own luxury brands. And that's really what these conversations are all about. So today I'm delighted that we're able to be joined by Riddhima Sayal from RISA Bags. She has taken a second generation approach in a family business and reinvented that now so that it's become an internationally distributed brand. And she's got a lot that she can actually tell us about how to do that and the process that she's gone through along the way. So, Riddhima, can I just ask you quickly for a short bio on you and what's been going on with your business?
Sure. Hi, I'm Riddhima Sayal. I run my own brand. It's called RISA Bags, as you all know it. I did my schooling in Jalandhar in Punjab, and later on I went to Lady Shri Ram College for Women in Delhi, and I did my political science honors out there. So it's got nothing to do with fashion. My background is nothing. My educational background has got nothing to do with fashion.
Right.
So, like you said, I'm the second generation of a family-led business, and we started RISA in 2012. It was a venture which was started by me and my sister, and it's been a wonderful journey. And I would love to discuss it further with you.
Well, we're dying to hear from you, so I'm going to pass it over to Shreya. So, Shreya, take it away.
Super. Riddhima, thank you so much, Helen, for that lovely introduction, and thank you, Riddhima, for doing this with us. So today, why don't we start with hearing from you on understanding how, in this coming times we can launch a luxury brand, and what is your take and your understanding from the brand that you've created. So once we walk through that, then we can maybe, get into a further discussion in terms of understanding more about your brand then.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Shreya and Helen. So I have prepared a small presentation here, which I'll be sharing my screen now. It's about the course which I will be tutoring in the Helen School of Luxury, which is called How to Launch a Luxury Brand. So we'll just quickly go over it. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. How to launch a luxury brand. First, let us bifurcate the two words, luxury and brand. So what is luxury? Luxury, according to me, it's a privilege. Luxury is not a basic necessity. It is rather an acquired need or an illusion, which is created at the hands of global brands with deep pockets by expanding their market presence. Luxury gives a sense of ownership. If you own anything luxurious, you're finding ways to distinguish yourself from the rest of the world. And thanks to globalization today, luxury has become a common household word as it has reached the doorstep of people's homes with very less stress of actually how to get it there. From a fancy fruit to a plane to a fancy car, everything is luxury. So now let's come to the next slide. What is a brand? A brand is the basic foundation of creating a sense of luxury. That's what I feel. It accumulates many aspects. To name a few would be sustainability, customer experience and satisfaction, presence, quality of product, service, value for money, visual merchandising, and brand image. These are just to name a few. A little introduction to our brand. Our brand RISA is designed in Vancouver, and it is handcrafted by women artisans in India. RISA is the brainchild of me and my sister. This is just an introduction. Each piece proves that style and substance can live happily ever after. RISA bags are upcycled bags. They're genuine leather handbags, handcrafted by our beautiful traditional artisans in our in-house facility in Punjab. So this little paragraph which is down there, this is by me and Saloni, my sister. She's in Canada. So we grew up around bags, lots of them. We would always tweak the bags in production from the family-run export house and started to experiment with design from scratch as the years went by. The love affair with leather became too serious, and that's how our label RISA was born. So how did we exactly launch our affordable luxury handbag brand? We call it affordable because it's not that expensive also. So RISA bags, as we call it, it was launched in 2012 in the heart of New Delhi, the capital of India, everyone knows. So the journey has been incredible ever since. There's so much which we've learned. From starting a brand with little know-how of the Indian luxury market, we took up the challenge to make a place for ourselves in the Indian market. And today we are an Indian luxury brand with a global presence. So owning luxury handbags in India are like owning luxury cars. It's a status symbol. How we reached out to those customers who considered luxury as quality was a tough one, but we managed to crack that. And today we are not only a name which is recognized in India, but also globally. So as we go ahead in the course, I would be sharing my experiences and challenges, both which got us where we are today, and we're still learning. So here are some pictures from my workshop. This is in Punjab. So at RISA, we believe a lot in women empowerment, and we employ women artisans and train them in our in-house facility. They come in as unskilled and semi-skilled, and eventually we train them and they become skilled. And their wages also increase gradually, and they are able to support their families financially, which gives us a great feeling.
Is that one of the motivations for your brand?
Yes, it is definitely. Women empowerment, it is. Yeah. So this is our fabulous team back in Canada. It's a mix of our retailers, our wholesalers. That's my sister in the first picture. They're the models and the stores. So this is our team. So next I'll go on the handcrafting. Yeah. So we do a lot of handcrafting at RISA. We believe in keeping in touch with the roots. It always keeps us close to our roots and pushes us to experiment with different forms of hand tooling. It also keeps the art of handmade products alive, and it gives a lot of value addition to a luxury brand. In terms of the customer's point of view. These are just something, a tote, a knot tote. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so these are just if you see on top on the right hand side, that's embroidered tote, which is a classic. We started this back in 2000s, and yeah, and I'll go ahead. Yeah. So let us talk about the key. That was just a little introduction to my brand. I'm definitely going to talk about more of it and share my experiences ahead when we are working on the course. Now let us talk about the key aspects to keep in. Number one is sustainability and luxury, how they go hand in hand. Sustainability and luxury is to keep a product alive for a longer time. One has to maintain a balance in the environment by using eco-friendly processes across different steps of forming a luxury product. In order to achieve sustainability, it is important to be consciously aware of the repercussions on the ecosystem if we use wrong, unethical, or environmental hazardous ways of producing or selling a product. In today's world scenario, to sustain is to retain. That's what I feel. And sustainability is of utmost importance, especially in the post-COVID world where we are living. Then the next is a very important aspect, which is customer experience and satisfaction, because customer is king. It's true. It's actually true. So a brand is successful only when the consumer or customer is satisfied with the service provided by it. The aftercare service by a brand plays a key role in keeping a customer loyal towards the brand. With the competition increasing in all spheres of luxury today, be it fashion, hospitality, anything, it is important to be at your best in regard to making the customer feel special. Exclusivity is very important. The customer should feel exclusive.
I think that's an important point, isn't it? Because when we look at luxury or so-called luxury brands around the world, one of the challenges, I think, for the future of luxury is how the high volumes that are involved when you're thinking about some of the bigger brands, how are they retaining their luxury elements? Because I'm quite sure that a lot of them are not handcrafted. You wouldn't be able to do those sort of volumes with that level of handcrafting that you're putting into your bags. And I love the way you're talking about to sustain is to retain, because inherently you would think that luxury goods are actually the most sustainable that you can have. And yet, in many ways, they are not being sustainable because of the materials and the techniques that they're using. What sort of things have you been doing to improve the sustainability aspect in terms of the materials and techniques?
So, as I've mentioned to you earlier as well. So, what RISA is in the process of a shift, right? But is our main product. Leather is what we love, and we're not never going to stop making leather. But we are taking a shift towards vegan leather, which is which is becoming very famous in the world nowadays. And we are moving towards Pinatex. We are moving towards cactus leather, which we are importing from Mexico. Yes, and I'll also elaborate on that and the processes which we follow while making the leather back in Mexico. We will share that in the future. So there is a sustainable shift we are making, and we're also we're trying our best, little whatever little we can do as a brand, because definitely we can't make such a great change just by on our on our own. So we are reducing the use of plastic. We are doing these small things at our end where we can just use recyclable plastic for packaging, use organic cotton for our dust bags. So yeah, we're doing the little we can.
Great, well done.
Yeah, this is something which is actually very important, that how brands are currently in this shift phase of moving towards sustainability. It is very difficult for any brand to say that we are 100% sustainable at this current point of time. It is that movement and that attitude shift that they're having, which is where they can say that, okay, we are sustainable. In fact, all the brands we know for now, if they want to support something like slow luxury, they cannot say that all the existing brands under us are actually following the concept of slow luxury or sustainable luxury. However, we see themselves, slow luxury becoming a mandate in the coming 10 years and coming 5 years.
Yes.
So that's, I think, one aspect we need to look at when we talk about sustainability in building a brand, of how the brand is consciously making that shift.
Correct, Shreya, because I think you're right. No brand can say that we are 100% sustainable, and if they're saying that, then it's a big lie, because people are still not sure about sustainability, organic. People have no clue. So anyways, let's move on. So my next slide speaks about presence, which is another key aspect. Before launching a luxury brand, it is very important to know where would you place your brand. So market presence is an important aspect of launching a brand. It is very important to know your plan. Deeper pockets of a brand definitely means wider presence. Online and offline presence has to be very clearly demarcated. Finding the right partners, distributors, wholesalers, locally and globally, it is a very important aspect of launching a brand. Uniformity in presence, it can be through brand collaterals, but that's very, very important. Moving on. Oops, what was that? I think there's some. Okay. I'm just going to go through the slide. Can you hear this noise at the back?
Slightly, but carry on, it's fine.
Okay, I'll talk about the quality. Quality is quantity. However, can we remove this sound which is coming? I'll have to remove it from the presentation. I think it's added in that.
What I'll do is I'll mute myself and let's see if that makes a difference.
Yes. Shall I speak? Okay. So quality is quantity, a very old phrase but a very true one. Before launching a luxury brand, it is important to have confidence in the quality of your product and service. Believe in your product and then make others value. A complete R&D is very important before we get the brand out in the market and let the consumers experience it. Okay, this is Helen, shall I just halt it and remove this sound and come back?
It sounds rather like Father Christmas is coming early, so don't worry.
I think by mistake, it's something has gone into the presentation in the last few slides.
Don't worry, it's fine. Carry on. I'm enjoying this.
So the value for money. Before investing into a luxury brand, a customer should feel that the product or service is worth it. There are two types of consumers, novice and traditional, as we all know. We have to make sure as a brand that both these categories of consumers are convinced that the price they are paying for a product is the correct price, and also that they are getting it at the best price. The brand image, very, very important again. The projection of a brand, how the consumer sees the brand, and how the consumer portrays or talks about the brand to aspirational consumers. There are aspirational consumers as well. Friends, family, it can be anyone. And what is your strategy of marketing the brand on social media platforms? It is essential to have all these points clear before launching a brand. Next, we come to the target audience. What part of the society are we targeting? Who is the consumer actually? What is the age group you're targeting? And your price range depends on the type of audience you want should buy your brand. The target audience of a luxury brand are mostly always the wealthy, rich, and the famous. This is something which I've added, business to brand. So there's a bridge to cross between a business and a brand. A company can be profitable and prove to be successful in terms of return on investment, but it does not necessarily make that company into a brand. A brand has to be built aggressively while growing the business. We can import tons of handbags and sell them, make a profit, but we cannot make it into a brand until we project the business in a certain way. So this is my last slide where I've just put a small para, RISA's shift to sustainability. So we've incorporated cactus leather as part of RISA's new venture towards sustainability. We've now started making vegan dog collars for our adorable pups out there. So I've just put these two pictures. You see the collars on them, that's made out of cactus leather. Yeah. So yeah, that would be all. Thank you.
My new puppy is delighted to see animal-friendly leathers.
Yes, but that sound was so bad at the end. I'm so sorry.
Okay, don't worry. We can hear what you're saying. It's really, really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, that was pretty clear. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Great, Shreya. Thank you.
So, Riddhima, thank you so much. Actually, we have had quite an insight into the different aspects of launching a brand, and it gives us a good structure of somebody who wants to start looking at how can they successfully launch a brand in the luxury domain. So now coming back to knowing a little bit more about RISA, because that's what we want to hear from you and want to know more about it. So firstly, to begin with, which is something really intriguing to me, why have you all chosen the name RISA? What is the reason behind it?
It's actually very interesting. The brand name comes from the initials of my name and my sister's name, Saloni. So it's Riddhima Saloni. It's a very common thing which a lot of brands do nowadays. They'll just pick up the two initials. We did the same, but then I don't know, it just rang a bell, and I think it sounds okay.
Yeah, it sounds
good. It sounds nice. Yeah. So for us to be at an international level, also today people relate to it as an international brand.
Right.
So yeah, that's how it came about.
I think it's really important when we're looking at brand naming that it is something which has got a personal connection, whether that is your names, whether that is something in your history, the location of where you are. Something has to ring true in terms of what that name stands for. Because it's going to be at the heart of your brand story in the future, and it has to be something which you're comfortable in saying. But equally, quite right, when you're talking about, when you're trying to go internationally, if you have a brand name which cannot be pronounced or is not regularly pronounced correctly, then it's going to get in the way of consumers telling your story as part of their own story. And that's going to be something which is more limiting in terms of the brand awareness and that whole build of that community. So it's really, really important point. And as you say, it doesn't have to be that complicated. It just has to be something that means something to you.
Yeah, that's so true. Yes.
Right. Now, whenever we start a brand, And whenever people come to me and they're starting a new brand, or they have a current existing brand and they rebrand it, I always question them, what is the driving purpose behind the creating that brand? What was your brand purpose when you started RISA? And I know you've been surrounded by leather bags throughout your life, but when you start this new brand, what was that one purpose which was a guiding, you could say, a driving purpose towards creating this brand?
So, our purpose was to keep the handcraft alive, definitely. When we started RISA back in 2012, it's not been so many years, but yeah, it's for us, it has been a long journey. Me and Saloni, we grew up in this. We actually grew up in this factory where there was so much of leather, and we were doing bags for the world. We were making bags for all the big brands like Pepe Jeans and Armani and White Stuff and Jones Bootmaker from London. I'm sure Helen has heard about all these brands. Yeah, so Noah, Naf Naf. We were doing all that, and there was. I have never bought a bag in my life, because since I was a kid, we just used to go to the factory and just pick up bags and probably change bags every day, go put them back and come back and come back with a new bag every day.
That's my idea of heaven.
Yeah,
yes,
I mean, I'm
yes,
quite jealous about it, yes.
And now even if I go for a party, I don't carry any other brand, because I'm like, people will ask me, what are you carrying? And I don't want to I don't want to say that I'm not carrying a RISA bag. Yeah. Sometimes I really want to, but I don't. So anyways, coming back to the question. So the purpose was, we saw so much of handcrafting and so much, these women artisans doing weaving and hand tooling back in our factory, and seeing leather from scratch to actually becoming a handbag. That was a lovely process. So yeah, that really pushed us to start this brand, and it was more about handcrafting. That we want to keep that alive, and keep in touch with our roots. That is what
that's really important in terms of how we speak about uplifting Make in India and Skill India and ensuring that we're manufacturing back at home and not outsourcing it anymore. And as you also mentioned that, how we initially used to keep on manufacturing for these global brands, but finally we are now taking the step in creating our own brands in that process.
Yeah.
So that's lovely. Now, since we are talking in terms of handcrafted culture, where do you think that these brands also reflect the Indian ethnicity when you say that by design or by the concept or by the way of creating these products, where do you think we see Indian culture, the elements of Indian culture come into your product or your brand as per se?
Okay. So as I'm repeating myself, but yes, as we've all we've always wanted to be in touch with the roots and get some Indian culture into our brand, because at the end of the day we are an Indian luxury brand, and when we are out there also in the world, when we are in Canada and we're in the US or we're in New Zealand, but the thing which drives the wholesalers and the retailers out there to buy our brand is because we are coming from India, and that's a very big push for us.
That's great.
Yes, so they love the concept of women making the bags, in their homes, and the little detailings, and they love all of that. So that's how our brand moves ahead. As far as the Indian elements are concerned, we do a lot of tie dye, we do a lot of weaving, we do a lot of hand embroideries. And in terms of tie dye, there's this Indian form of tie dye which is called bandhani. So we've done that a lot as well in our bags, in which the leather is tied on, and the dye just goes in patches, and you get this beautiful pattern all over the bag. And it's not a perfect pattern, but that imperfection speaks for the handcraft.
Right.
Yeah, that is what we are that is what we are promoting at the end of the day. So we do not want perfection.
That's
we want quality,
so
but not
important.
perfection.
I love that, because actually it feels like luxury has become all about being completely perfect, and you can't have something which is just marginally different or has some sort of element that is not consistent across all the pieces. And actually, for me, that's part of luxury. That imperfection means that there is an individual who's been involved in making it.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, that's what I want to pay for. I don't want to necessarily pay for something which looks exactly the same as the other person, who's going to be wearing quite often the same scarf, the same shoes, the same suit, because there's so much of it available now. So I think what you're doing is coming back to the true roots of luxury rather than the more industrialized luxury that we're seeing with global brands particularly. And I think what you're doing in terms of incorporating elements of Indian craft and techniques that aren't really found outside of India is fantastic, because that is something that allows us to feel the connection. And what you're talking about there, with people loving to hear about the craftsmen, the women who are making these bags in their own homes, is that building a community connection, because the world, as we've all found, has become a much smaller place in the last few years. And so they become our neighbor, even if I'm sitting in London and you're in Delhi. It's a global world here. It's great.
And I feel like, as we've spoken about, this is quite interesting how she mentioned that they get excited when they see a brand coming from India, which is
it's different.
Which is fabulous. I think also it works as a go-to strategy, when you take your brand local to global. So the way you narrate your story in terms of your brand having Indian elements to it makes it exciting for the world outside, and to get associated with your brand as well.
Yeah.
So, Riddhima, when you launched your brand, I'm sure it's been a long affair. It's been a crazy affair as well. A lot of mistakes, a lot of things that you've learned. But tell us a few funny stories. Tell me something that you distinctly remember when you took the brand, either when you launched it in Delhi or you launched it in Vancouver. So, what's something that you were like, this was something which is, we remember this particular incident. We've actually learned from it also, and you want to share it with the future entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting question, and there are a couple of incidents, but I'd like to mention one or two. I mean, when we actually launched our brand, when we actually started our store in Meherchand Market in Delhi, it was like a very upcoming market, and we were very excited. It was close to Khan Market, so we thought we were going to get the best of crowd, and they're going to come and they're going to love the bags, and we were like very confident. So, there used to be these ladies who used to walk in with these expensive bags. And that time when we started our brand, we were in Delhi. So, we knew, all we knew was Delhi that time. We thought Delhi is it. It is the place to be, So, and that time Emporio, if you heard of these, these malls, they were just coming up, and, people were going crazy, and all these international brands were coming in, and people could afford it also, right?
Right.
So there used to be these women walking into our stores, with a Louis Vuitton or a Mess bag, or a Gucci bag, and they would come and love our bags, and they would ask for discounts. And we used to be like, they used to be like, no, but can you just, if this bag is for 10,000, can you give it for 5,000? We were like, why? You yourself are carrying a 1 lakh bag, and you want to, reduce the price of my handbag, which is handcrafted. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
So that used to be a very funny conversation, with them, and I used to laugh about it with my sister all the time. And but gradually we learned that really helped us. From a funny story, it went on to being this learning experience where we actually understood the Indian customer, that what they exactly want. So we had to help ourselves to understand the customer, how they want to, how to actually make them believe in our brand. And that's what we've learned in the last 10 years, and we are still learning.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic point. Helen, to let you know, Khan Market in Delhi is the place.
Yes.
It's not the most expensive place, if with the best of brands.
Best place to be.
Best place to be in Delhi.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, anybody, if you are in Delhi, everybody will take you there at one point.
Yes.
Oh, I'll be living there, no problem.
So, coming to your point, Riddhima, which is something that is very interesting about the Indian consumers, and I pointed out, is we are value conscious consumers, right? And even in India, if they go and buy a Mercedes, they will definitely think about the mileage that the car is going to provide them, irrespective of the brand that they are buying, right? And this is a fantastic point when you mention that irrespective of the carrying these big brands like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, but they still, when it comes to local brands, it's difficult for them to understand that this can also be expensive, and there's a reason why the price is being quoted. And I think that awareness needs to be built over time. And I'm sure the customers have changed. Now they are accepting Indian brands which are priced at a premium range. And this shift, I think, is going to be a gradual shift. And this is the phase where we'll actually see how our premium brands can actually become luxury brands as well. So I think it's a matter of time when consumers actually get to know about it more.
Yes, totally.
And luxury is all about patience. It's not something you can't get rich quick overnight when you're a luxury entrepreneur. It doesn't happen. I haven't found any get rich quick schemes. No. Everything is about developing a craft, developing a luxury consumer base that really sticks with you and loves what you do. And one of the best things you can get to is a consumer being your collector. And then
That's a lovely line, yeah.
You're working very nicely then, because they become more than just somebody who's buying product from you. But as a collector, they're truly engaged with you and want to see the next thing that you bring.
Riddhima's got that line.
Well, okay, if I can have
you do that.
Retained.
I'll use it in the course somewhere. But I'll say that it was said by you, so don't worry about it.
Trademarked.
So, Riddhima, since we are focusing on inspiring the future entrepreneurs in luxury, why don't you tell us a few things, top three things that you should have known, while you were starting this brand, while you're launching this brand. If you can, just think about the top three things to mention. That okay, these are the things that you take care of.
Yeah. So the first thing which comes to my mind, what Helen just was just picking up from there. Indeed, it is very important to have patience with your customer. I used to be very impatient initially, in the initial years, when I used to deal with the customers at exhibitions or at events or in my store over a call. I used to be very impatient. I used to be like, just place the order and move ahead. Like, okay, what do you want? So then I realized, no, customer is king. Like I mentioned before, it is such a cliche, but it is so true. If the customer is not happy, so you can't do anything about it. So it is very important to make the customer happy. So firstly, never lose patience. That is one thing I would like to say, which I wish I would have known earlier. Today I have much more patience. The second thing which I would like to say was that the Indian luxury market is not very easy to crack, like we were discussing.
Right.
So that is very difficult, especially in the handbag section. Like I said, it is a status symbol for women in India now. It's become, especially in North India, it's become like a status symbol. It is so difficult. Even in Punjab, even in Delhi is bad, but Punjab is also getting there.
Chandigarh especially, I believe.
Chandigarh is still little Chandigarh is okay. But if you talk about Ludhiana and you talk about Jalandhar, you talk about these places, Amritsar, it's like people feel that, okay, they put everything branded on themselves. They'll wear a Gucci belt, Gucci t-shirt, Gucci cap, Gucci shoes. It doesn't work like that.
The 2-tier cities is coming up. So we talk about the 2-tier, the 3-tier cities. Yes.
Because the spending power is there, right? There is the spending power is there. And all of them, the people, they go to Delhi, they buy these, these things, and they come back to the city, and then it's about showing off. It's become this trend is all about showing off. Yes. And the third thing I would like to say is, again, value for money. The value for money point is very important, and I'll elaborate on it. As I said, we used to be very confident about our products because we were already selling them through different brands. So we thought, oh, it's going to be a cakewalk for us, but it wasn't. It's very important for the customer to feel that, okay, I am paying the right amount for this bag and it is actually a quality bag. So I wish we would have known that earlier, that how to actually convince the customer to actually buy your bag.
Yeah.
Right. So these are the three things.
That's really interesting. And, you were talking earlier about your products really are affordable luxury. And quite often, I guess, within luxury, price becomes less important because actually it's the story, it's the craft, it's the quality of what's being received. And you'll pay for that because, you understand it. It's when you're not convinced by that suddenly you start wanting to talk about the price. Yes, and also, I think with the luxury shift that we're seeing, whilst things tend to be on the more expensive side within their sector, you can have luxury chocolates now paying, I don't know, £100 or, 10,000 rupees for a box of chocolates may be considered very excessive. But if those chocolates are handmade to your selection with your name on it and delivered to you beautifully presented, you probably aren't really going to think about it as much, because it is still an indulgence. It's not an extravagance in that the price you're paying is relatively affordable, but the indulgence factor and that feeling of being an individual who's had something made and bespoke is fantastic. And for me, India is one of those countries where you can so easily get things that are in theory made bespoke, but and elevating it to being luxury, utilizing those crafts, but then valuing those crafts yourself and as a consumer, rather than the mass production which is out there.
Yes. And we also we also do customization in RISA. That's a very major part of our selling strategy, because like you said, people love that. People feel exclusive.
No, it's very important.
One thing very interestingly that you've mentioned, and most often when we speak about Indian luxury market, I also emphasize on the fact that how Indian consumers are different geographically. It's way more than demographics that we go ahead. It's the North Indian consumers versus the South Indian consumers, the East versus the West, and it's a different ballgame altogether. And do you also have customers from the South India that you feel like they have different requirements from you when they buy your bag as compared to what the North Indian consumers are? Because I think it's a very important point for anybody to be watching this interview, for them to understand that it's just not one customer persona for India that works. And that's why India is a very challenging market for brands to get through.
Yes.
So why don't you throw some light on that?
Sorry, what?
Nancy, why don't we throw some light on that? Helen is smiling because she knows that's one of the biggest challenges for the brands.
That's a tough. So the Indian customer is, actually a tough nut to crack. I just put it like that. So in South, we have a lot of customers coming in from Bangalore, from from Karnataka, and from Hyderabad and all these places down south. And yes, there is a difference, because dealing with customers face to face in Delhi, and actually dealing with these customers over a call, or on the email or something, it's much easier. They're more basic. The South Indian customers, I'm not, I'm not just being, I'm not trying to comment on any one here, but the South Indian customers are more easy. They do have the spending power as well, but it's not in the face. It's not like, okay, let's just, I'm buying this bag to prove a point to someone or to stand out, or it's not like that. So there is a huge difference. The customers in North India, they are more loud. They want blingy stuff. They want gold on their bags. So it's a choice. I'm not blaming any one of them. It's a choice. It's a complete choice. Something I like, you might not like. So it's like that. But yes, to get everything together and to have a collection where we can offer everything for someone, it's very tough. But considering that we have our own in-house facility, it becomes a little easier for us, because we don't have to outsource. So if some person comes to me and says, okay, I want this bag and I want this customized like this, we'll just agree to it. We won't, we'll do it quickly, because we have a facility where we can do all this. We have people in-house. But when you have to outsource, it becomes very difficult to cater to all the needs. So considering that we have to make a collection for everyone, it is a big challenge for us.
And do you feel that the luxury consumer in southern India is more open to local Indian luxury brands than in the north, or does it not really change?
No, definitely. The South Indian customer is much more open to Indian brands than the North Indian customer, for sure. That's correct, what you're saying.
They're more culturally sound as compared to the North, because
I think they're more secure.
Diverse. I
think they're more secure. Right. They're more secure, and North Indians are not secure. I'm a North Indian, but it's so true. We're not secure.
We're always North Indian.
We're always in a rush to go out there and get appreciation from someone. I don't think South. Maybe there are people in South who are like that as well, but the ones I've dealt with, I'm just talking out of my experience.
It's a little different, correct?
Yes.
So, now that we know that we've spoken about a few challenges as well, right? When launching, we know that India is a difficult market to crack through, especially in the luxury segment. But at this point of time, where we obviously have been hit by the pandemic, but we've also seen a lot of different things coming up, new technology coming up, new challenges and opportunities coming up. What do you think are the top three challenges where you see RISA, having to take it forward from the current place where they are? What are the upcoming challenges where you look at this is a hindrance, but we need to work around it to ensure the brand further penetrates into the homeland as well as global?
The number one challenge would be again the constant tussle between the brand and the customer. Uh, which I've already elaborated on. Our brand is always compared to. If I say, if I talk about an international brand, it's compared to Michael Kors, the price range. So a customer comes to us and says, okay, why should I buy your brand and why should I not buy a Michael Kors? Your bag is for 10,000 and I can get a smaller bag, but it's also going to be for 10,000 and it's a brand. So, that constant tussle to convince them that why is my brand not equivalent, but not even better, but as good or bad as, Michael Kors or any other brand in that segment is very difficult. So we have to, we have to constantly keep on working on that. That is through, the presence and the brand image, how we portray the brand. That's how we need to work on that. The second would be, globalization is it's a great thing for businesses, but at the same time, there are brands who want to cross barriers and they want to blossom and they want to have these stores abroad and they have the money and everything is there, everything is right for them. But there is a lack of knowledge which people have about going abroad or actually making your brand into an international one. There are so many things like import duties, there are prices, shipping. There's so many things. The shipping and logistics is a vast concept, which as brand owners, a lot of people don't know about. So you tend to lose money out there. So it is very, very, very important to study that yourself. You should know the basics, how you're going to actually get there. Because when you're selling a bag, when in RISA we are selling a bag for 5,000 in India, and we're selling the same bag in Canada for 10,000, there's so many questions people ask. Why is it expensive out there, and blah blah blah. So we have to answer to those questions with the correct answers because everything is online nowadays.
Yeah, right.
The customer is educated. You can't make a fool out of the customer. It is very very important. So for that you have to first be educated yourself. So that is the second point, which I feel is it's a challenge. And the third would be, never have I think it's very important not to have a casual attitude towards your product. Never be overconfident about your product. You have to actually first know what you're selling and whether it is worth the cost to the consumer. If you don't believe in it, then the customer is not going to believe in it and the customer is not going to buy it. So your marketing strategy has to be very, very important. So these are the three things which I would feel are, they are the barriers which people need to work on before actually launching a brand.
And Riddhima, have you had to change the design at all of your product between India and more Western markets, or is actually the fact that it is much more culturally influenced in Indian design part of its success?
Helen, that's a very interesting question. When we actually started back in 2012, we had these traditional designs, like I showed you the embroidered tote right now. Yeah. We used to do a lot of embroidery and a lot of, hand embroidery and all, weaving and all. Gradually down the line, we have stopped doing embroidery as well. In Canada, for example, or in New Zealand, people are used to buying these big totes, big, and they like these leathers, like the leathers like Crazy Horse. If I'll explain it later to you. They are those rough leathers and plain solid colors. They like those kind of bags, and they prefer bags without zips as well. But on the contrary, Indian people, they like bags with zips because they're always scared that our money is going to fall off, and I can't carry this bag. I don't want to buy this bag because there's no zip on it. So now that we are an Indian and an international brand, we have to cater to both the markets. So we've sort of created a balance between the two, and we're doing both. We are rooted also to our
Right.
Indian culture, but at the same time we are catering to the international market, because at the end of the day, a brand can only grow if the business is growing, right? We can't be stuck to we can't be stuck up. So we have to
Right.
cater to both the brand, both the things. Yeah.
And Riddhima, you all started in 2012, launching in India. And when was this idea? Or when did you realize that okay, it's time for us to take it global? Or when did you realize that opportunity that yes, we can take it forward?
Okay. So Shreya, we always had an open opportunity, me and Saloni both, to take the brand abroad, because like my dad was always on these exhibitions in
Right,
Milan
yeah.
or in Vegas, and at times we used to travel with them as well, and we used to see what's happening around the world, and there used to be buyers coming in, all the way to Jalandhar to meet us to see the factory. So we were always involved in that process of learning,
Right.
and it gave us a bit of confidence as well, of how to actually run a brand, or how to make it. So uh, yeah, it was. What was the question again? Can you just repeat it for
So it
me
was
so that I can?
basically like when did you realize there was an opportunity for the brand outside, to take it
Yeah. So
global?
okay. Sorry. So the first time actually there was this. It's a very funny story, and it's a very special one for us. Our brand went international first in South Africa, which was a country which we had never thought that, oh, we are going to sell RISA bags out there. We had never, we could have thought of England or America, which are these, which are very common, but we never thought of South Africa. So there was this lady who was, of course, our partner now. She was visiting India for a wedding in Goa. And she just came across our one. So at that time we had hired a PR agency as well. So we used to do all the, we were doing all the works, because the bloggers were coming up at that time. There were so many, so many new things coming up for the in the digital space as well. So there was a article which she came across, in which we had all our bags, and she just called us and she said, I love your bags and I want to take them to South Africa. So we were like, Saloni and I were like, shell shock. We were like, okay, that's great. And she just placed her first order, and she was like, okay, give me these many bags and just ship them to me, and I'm sending you the money. So that was the first time we actually thought, okay, there is something to our bags which we can actually push it abroad. So that was our first buyer abroad in South Africa. After that, when we started our store, we used to have a lot of foreigners coming in, a lot of people from abroad coming in to Hoskas. Our store was in Hoskas as well, and we used to have people coming in from all over the globe, and they used to love our bags also for the price point. They used to feel that they're cheap, the bags. For us, we were selling them at a decent price, but they used to feel it's a cheap bag, like a tote for 5,000. Oh wow, let's just pick it up, and it's a durable bag. It's not good. You can pass it on to your kids.
Yeah.
That's the kind of leather we make. So they used to be so through the store we got a few distributors as well. There were these girls who came from. There was a girl who came from New Zealand who's our partner now and a friend as well. She orders this one big tote from us. She bought it, and after that she started ordering it in bulk, and she started selling it out there. So she loves that tote, and every year we are selling like hundreds of them to her. At the same time, there were two girls from Norway who had come across to our store, and they loved the bags. And then we designed a collection for them, and that's how we reached Oslo. So that everything is there's so many stories like that. And recently, how we've gone to North America is because Saloni, my sister, she's married in Canada, and she's in Vancouver. And yeah, so she's taken it ahead out there. And today we are in about 50 retail stores across Vancouver itself.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
That's massive. Yes.
yeah, so that's she used to just pack her suitcase with bags and just go to stores, and that was the go-to strategy. It is always important to be at it, otherwise I don't think you
Yeah.
can make it.
Yeah, the product
yeah.
speaks for itself sometimes. Yeah. So
Yes, totally,
it,
totally, yes.
it
Each other
just goes.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how we went global, and we want to make it to other places as well, for sure.
I'm sure.
We just recently started. I had mentioned to Helen the other day. We just recently been launched at Wolf and Badger in the UK.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
that's a great place to be.
Yeah,
it has such a strong brand in its own right, but it only brings in interesting brands that aren't available everywhere else. And I do think that this is one of the trends that's happening now with consumers, particularly younger consumers, that they're looking to discover new brands, that they don't just want the same old luxury brands that they've had in the past. Actually, they want to feel like they've found their new generation of luxury. And this is part of it. And alongside of that, with sustainability and what you're doing on cactus leather and Pinatex and so on is fantastic, because that's exactly where this new generation of luxury consumers is really looking. And they're not finding that the bigger luxury brands are delivering on that at all. So there's two really big reasons why actually luxury is moving, because the consumer themselves are moving and what they're looking for. So being responsive and listening to you about how you've taken opportunities and you've seized those without becoming distracted in terms of the product that you're making is fantastic, and a great lesson, I think, for everybody who's going to be listening to this and following you as our tutor on the launching a luxury brand course, because actually you've been there, you've done it, and you've seen now how it works, and you know the pitfalls, and that's always really, really important.
Thank you, Helen.
On that note, Riddhima, I want to ask you, where do you see the future of luxury in the Indian domain as per se moving? I know the global might not be the right way to go about it, but if we talk about the Indian consumers, because we've actually seen a lot of shift happening in a couple of years. And I really also think that this has happened due to the penetration of social media as well, how people have become more educated about brands and luxury brands and the concept of splurging more, I would say. So where do you think this is heading, and also how do you think this is going to impact your business?
Shreya, I think luxury needs to be the term luxury needs to be revisited altogether. Everyone is putting the word luxury because they're not really living up to it. So firstly, the brands need to be educated about what luxury is exactly, right? And luxury doesn't necessarily mean expensive. That's not what luxury is. Luxury is also quality and also customer satisfaction. There are a lot of things to it. Luxury markets are definitely on the rise, but people are also becoming conscious and educated in a lot of ways. So we have to, like I mentioned earlier, we have to, especially with COVID coming, people have become, they've got this shift towards, sustainability, and they feel, satisfied and content in little and less, So I think sustainable luxury is the way ahead that, that brands should learn about and incorporate sustainability into their concept of luxury. So that's the way it has to be in the future. And we wish to work towards that, with whatever little we can contribute, like I mentioned, by saying no to plastic, or women empowerment. All these little things can come together and pave the path for us ahead.
If everybody did a small thing, there would be an awful lot of change.
Yes,
but it's when you think that, oh, I can't do anything because I'm too small, and what effect am I going to have? Actually, you're part of a bigger movement now, and this is the sustainable luxury movement. It is on its march, and it's gathering more and more people because it has to happen.
Yes, like Nitin had mentioned the other day from Coco Crate, the conversation we had. I would like to say here, because he was also, his conversation was very interesting, and he said the same thing, that the little we can do, the little we can do is what we can do, and then everyone has to join in.
Yeah.
So that is very important.
Commit to something and do that, and then you do what is true to your own purpose and to what matters to you. As you said earlier, nobody can be 100% sustainable in every single aspect, because there are so many different ways that sustainability can be brought into a business that some won't necessarily be that relevant. But doing the things that you can do and that you are personally doing with your brand is all part of making that change, and it will move it forward. So it's a permanent shift. It's not a trend or a fad. It's actually something which will stay with us. And helps smaller brands actually to have a strong point of difference versus some of the larger luxury brands too.
Yes, completely.
I think that's a very holistic way of how we've brought this all together in terms of how we can build a brand and move it towards sustainability. On that note, Riddhima, one piece of advice for our aspiring luxury entrepreneurs, especially in the Indian domain for that matter. So what do you think you want to lead them with?
A piece of advice would be, to be at it all the time. If you really want to start your own brand, I mean, everyone wants to start their own brand. Someone wants to make cupcakes. Someone wants to make, there's so many things. So I would say you should know your purpose. It should be purpose driven. That is very, very important, to know where you're headed. What is your market again? And, just be at it. Just, don't ever give up, always be on the edge. You should be excited for the next thing coming your way. It can't be, there can't be a lull ever. Otherwise your brand image and your brand just, it just becomes stagnant. So it is very important to be at it. That is what I would say. And I would advise the people who want to start their own brand. And I would love to help them wherever I can.
Awesome. I think
that's like great advice.
Yeah. On that note, Helen, let's have a conclusion to our lovely conversation that we've had this morning.
Well, I found it absolutely fascinating. I mean, I really, really enjoyed that. And I now know something more about zips around the world. This is great.
Yeah, that's
very important.
I mean, it's one of those things, it's a little nuance, isn't it, that you don't understand or appreciate when you're sitting in your own country until you go and talk to other people and you understand, actually, that is really important. And if you take out the zip, you've suddenly got a market, whereas you could have had a market previously. So, I've really appreciated and really learnt a lot from you myself just this morning on our conversation. So thank you so much for that. I think your key point of advice of keeping at it is something that when entrepreneurs are finding the going get tough, and it does, and everybody in the deep darkest nights are thinking, how am I ever going to make this happen? How will I ever pay the bills? Actually, just keep going and it will happen. Being open to opportunities, being open to ideas and discoveries, I think is great, but being consumer driven at all points is the most important thing. And your top 3 things that you wish you'd known are the things that really we focus in on our School of Luxury courses, about patience, about never lose patience with a consumer, but learn to develop more of it and understand that there is no get rich quick scheme in luxury. I think knowing that the luxury market is a tough nut to crack, and having that appreciation, that therefore makes the expectation of something taking longer but being worthwhile so much more useful. And I think setting those expectations for yourself as an entrepreneur is absolutely vital. Nothing will happen overnight. It has to take its time, but people will find you if you've got a good enough product, a good enough idea, good enough service, that they come and find you. And then the word of mouth really starts to accelerate what it is you're selling, and you will get success with that. And I think the third thing is around price. That whilst price isn't important, you need to believe enough in your product to not feel like you're overpricing it. So that value for money isn't about how cheap it is, but actually how you justify the price tag, by the craft, by the care, by the quality of the materials, and by the fact that you're actually crafting heirlooms for the future in what you're doing. It's something that's quite different. So I thank you, really. I think it's been a fascinating conversation. And thank you, Shreya, for guiding us through that. That was really, really interesting. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you a lot more in the future, because I know you have a lot to offer to any of our students and to me personally. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really excited to be on board. And yeah, one last piece of advice, just extending to the question which Shreya had asked, was that, there's an opportunity which is knocking on your door all the time, all the time. So all these, people who want to start their own brands, never give up. It is, it's a very tough world out there, especially with the people who feel, oh, let's not do it. It's not the right time. But it's never going to be the right time. Today there's COVID, tomorrow there's going to be something else. So it's very important to keep going and just seize the opportunity. Yeah. And it was lovely being here. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.